Hello everyone, this is DCWF again and welcome back to the channel A.C.V.C. Discussion and Development. I've decided to turn around and do a video today on a little bit on design actually. So I wanted to show you a little bit of design. I mean, because I guess it's something that people turn around and question, what does it take to be a designer, or I've heard a lot of different questions, and I've heard a lot of people's responses to it and what it means and for each one. So today I'm gonna just turn around and do my best to explain it the way that I see it. So first, design is just, design firstly, if you just have an idea for something that you think would be cool to build. I mean, even if it's not something that's a building, just a design for even a logo. I mean, you don't actually have to have a business that logo or or a business to sell something you design. You don't have to have that. You don't have to have the technological know-how to build something you design right off. You don't have to have it right off, because likelihood is that if you're younger, if you're if you're not even really in the teens yet, or if you're a teenager. Because see, I mean, this isn't just for kids. This covers everybody. This covers from young to old. It can be a factor of your age. Yes, if you're too young to even get started in work anyway. But then if you're just older and you decide that your career's not been that way. So if your career was something different, you didn't turn around and do that. If you were turning around and on an assembly line instead, if you really didn't do anything kind of design style or building style, but you were just on an assembly line. I mean, it could even be in a restaurant area, or you could be in a packaging plant, just packing stuff up in a box. You know, and then maybe and that might be you might be in your 20s, you might be in your 30s, 40s. Uh, People, I'm sure that there's probably people in those areas that are still up in their 60s and 70s. But then you also have people who have retired from their jobs. Maybe they don't want to, maybe they turn around and worked all those years, but now they have an idea for something that they just want to design. So first things first, in a design, you just have to have an idea. It doesn't matter whether or not it can be built right off. It doesn't matter if you have the technological know-how of it. So let's go with that as our first principle here. You just have to have something that you like, you enjoy, that you want to design. So I'm going to do something simple. I'm not going to do anything major right this second. I kind of have an idea for like a keychain. Just something you would wear. And you can try and make it more sophisticated as you go along, but I'm just going to do something simple right this minute. So, and I mean, they kind of already exist, but I'm going to turn around and do it anyway. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're going to have similar ideas to other people. You can't get away from it. There's nothing new under the sun. So even if maybe this design hasn't been seen in 200 years, or maybe it hasn't been seen in 1,000 years, it's still, it's still going to be something you design. And no matter what, it's going to be how you design it. It's going to be similar maybe to something else, but it isn't going to be that exact. And that's the point. So now, as you can see, like I said, I'm doing a keychain. So here you go. I mean, you can already see I've got a pretty basic shape here. I'm kind of going with, I'm actually just going with cross. I'm not going to hide it. I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus came and died on the cross for all of our sins, and then he rose again on the third day. I believe that. I believe it, and I mean, that is what I believe. So I turn around and I want to design a keychain. Okay, so when you're designing something, like I said, you just gotta have an idea, something that turn around and that just draws you to do it. I mean, it's just something that this is something you enjoy, something that attracts your attention, something that you get into that you want to design. Okay, you don't have to have the technological know-how, like I said. By no means do you have to have that right off. Doesn't mean that doesn't help. It just means that you don't have to have it right off. Now, see, this right here is a pretty simplistic shape, but you know, you can turn and go with it in multiple different ways. So let's see, like I said, if I wanted to be a keychain, so you gotta have kind of a lanyard hole, and here for rough look right there, we'll just do that. I mean, it's not really a very accurate part right there. And then, you know, a little cleanup right there with an eraser would turn around and make. But right this minute, I'm not doing like dimensional design. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing a rough sketch, a rough idea, because that's the second thing. When you first turn around and start your design, not only do you have to have the idea of what you want to do, but then you're not going to go in and have measurements right off. I'm sorry, if anybody really thinks that you're just going to automatically have the measurements right off, you might have a general idea, but you're not going to have the measurements right off, because you're going to change, your design's going to change. I mean, you can see this right here is thinner. I got this with a lanyard hole. I prefer more of a rounded edging on the bottom. I actually prefer a little bit more rounded edges here instead of a squared edge. Now that's my preference right there on the bottom. On the top, I actually prefer this. I prefer this. Imagine if you're looking at the hilt. You know, if you're looking at a knife. Okay, I mean, not a normal. Well, actually, it's more like if you're looking at the old English swords. That's actually what you'd be looking at right here. That would be closer representative of some of this shape. See, you turn and do that. Now, that's pretty simple keychain. I mean, it really is. That's just a rough sketch. It's pretty simple. So, but you know, like I said, I don't have measurements. This could be any size. This could be the size of the Eiffel Tower right this minute. I mean, you don't have measurements here. I don't have it measured out. I don't have, you know, you can look at the page. I've got copy paper. This is what I have. I just turned and decided to grab a piece of copy paper. You can put it in a sketchbook. You can put it wherever. I literally just decided to grab a little piece of copy paper. Something simple. Something that doesn't have to do. Because when you're doing a first initial design, you might keep this. And then on the other hand, you may actually turn around and go on, design it somewhere else. And this right here might not even remain. You might throw a whole bunch of other designs. I mean, sincerely. So this is just one thing. I mean, I could go into doing a whole bunch of others. I could. Right now. But I'm really not planning on doing that. So let's do this. Let's do this. Because, like I said, and this is the other thing. What I started with right here, before I added these. See, before I added this part right here, what I already had, it doesn't look that bad. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty interesting design, pretty standard. Okay, and that's how it works. It's a pretty standard design. Then, now I'm going in and I'm adding extra detail. And see, that's the thing. When you're designing, you have two things that you got to do. One is you got to design it to the point where you like it. Okay? When you're doing a design, you have to do it to the point of where you like it, where you like what it looks like. But then you also got to turn to one other thing. You can't turn around and overthink it. some designs, I heard them say that, designs are supposed to have some simplicity. Honestly, simplicity is actually in the eyes of the person doing the design, in all honesty. Uh, I've heard people talk about something being simple. There's things that I've seen in my life that for some people, honestly, it wouldn't be that simple. For me, it was simple. Everybody sees things differently. Don't think for one instance that it's not that way. Okay, so now I'm back. Like I said, everybody's going to see it their own way. We're just going to stick with that. I mean, some things might seem simpler to you than it will to somebody else. Okay? It's just how it works. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It means that to you it seems that way. And I know that people, don't get me wrong, I am a firm believer that you can pretty much learn anything. I'm someone who does believe that, someone's watching a how-to video. You can learn. You can learn to do things. There's no doubt in my mind. And I mean, there might be some people out there who have a harder time than others learning. Okay? It's something that happens. I mean, some people have a hard time learning and some people don't. But I also believe that the Lord gives gifts. Okay? It doesn't make a person, just because someone might have that gift, doesn't make them better than somebody else. It doesn't make another person less of a person because they can't do it. Okay? It doesn't do that. That's not how it works. That's not how life works. I believe everybody has a gift. I don't know that everybody will always know exactly what that gift is. And some people are going to have a similar gift to what somebody else has, which is no problem. The hardest thing about it is that, well, if you're a designer, there's tons of designers out there. The hardest thing you're going to have is you're going to have to come to the conclusion that you might design something similar to what somebody else is. And maybe you'll like theirs. Maybe you'll think theirs is better looking. Or maybe you won't. When it comes down to it, I mean, it's going to be personal preference. You gotta turn around and well, you just kind of have to go with the flow on that one. I mean, basically what I'm trying to tell you is that don't be discouraged if you see somebody has something that's similar to yours and then they turn around and they don't. But maybe they got built, maybe you didn't know it even existed until all of a sudden you looked and you saw it. So don't be discouraged about if someone has a similar design to yours. Just don't worry about that. Don't be discouraged. I mean, it happens. You will find, but your design will be, your design will still be your design. Now, as I said, I'm putting the pencil down for a second. I'm going to pretty much call this a wrap right this minute because this is the shape. This is the basic shape of what I would want to do. Now, see, I can do, and I'm sorry about the shaking, my hands, I have a little bit of arthritis and all, but also I'm holding this camera and your hands start shaking after a few minutes of holding it. So I'm going to quit doing the pencil right this second. I'm going to try to get my hand in a position where I'm shaking less just to finish up. So the design. I got a cross. I got this. And I could turn, would adjust this. Right this minute, I like this design. I do. I may add more. Now these thick lines and stuff, that's just because that was how I wanted to measure out the shape. That means pretty much the outside of it, that's about the width and all that I want to go with. So, and I might actually do, like I might write on the keychain, Jesus has risen, or he has risen. Because it's the truth, but I mean, I might write that. That might be what I would do. I might want it etched into the keychain. I might would do this keychain out of wood. I might would want to do this keychain out of metal. I might want to 3D print the keychain. But, I don't know which way I would go about it right now, because the first part of doing design is this: creating the design. Sometimes you're going to have to test out what materials you'll want to use. You're not going to know right off. Or you may have an idea, but I've come across where I did something and I thought that the idea was just perfect, but I found out that it would have worked just as good doing it another way, maybe even better. I've done some things like that. And that counts for drawings, not just designs. It actually counts for drawing stuff too. So, for all those who want to do design, it's not about having a whole bunch of knowledge of what it'll do. If this were a big building, well, you can gather there's a whole bunch of work that would have to go into this. It's a keychain. That's what I went with, a simple keychain. Right now, it could be the size of the Eiffel Tower for real, though, because there's no measurements. But I'm not going to put measurements in until I really decide what size I want, because you can go small and large. But there's other pieces of the design you're going to have to work with. There's parts that I might would have to turn and change. Some of it I would change. I'm not going to change until I go to a state where I'm going to try to produce it. But this is how you do designs. You just do a rough outlines. You do a rough design, and you build. You build from there. And for each person is different. I would turn around and just do an etch. He is risen. I might turn around and then, and put the verse in the Bible, write down what verse, and I read the King James Version of the Bible, because that's the one I prefer to read. So I might put it down there. I might put the verse or something. It might not even be on this side. I might put it on the back. And, dealing with where he rose from the grave, I might put that down there. And then, I might would turn around and even down here, I might would put a little, I might put a little light. Maybe I put a little LED light. Maybe I'd make this where it had a purpose of an LED light. A little button or something you just push, and you can use it, so it's not just the keychain, it's not just with he is risen, but you got a little LED light on it. The thing is that you can do so many different things with the designs. So either way, I'm going to go ahead and call it on the video. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. And I'm going to say I hope and pray that y'all got something from this, and I hope it helps you. I hope you enjoyed the video. And who knows, maybe you'll see this design. Mostly I was wanting to do the video showing a little bit on what it means to do design. And this isn't going to be the only video I do on it, because it's, it's like life. There's lessons upon lessons that you got to learn. Everybody's got to, and I mean, you're not going to learn them all at one time. And there's things that even I don't know yet that I'm going to learn as I go along. And it could be that you're going to learn it from other people. It could be that, the Lord could allow you to learn it from other people. The Lord could just show you. Don't think that He can't just do that. He can show you. He can show you how to do something. People won't even, you don't even be able to explain exactly how you figured it out, because, you didn't really look any of it up. You just knew. And that's because the Lord can do that. Okay? Now, you don't have to agree with me, and I'm not, one thing I'm saying right now, you don't have to agree with anything I've said in here. And that's the truth, you don't. But it is how I feel, it's my personal opinion of it, on that part. I believe it. So, that's just how I believe. In either case, and if I've jumped around a little bit, I'm sorry about that, I do that. But that's for a later video. This might explain a little bit more why I jump around in my conversations. But right now, I want you to have a good day, or as good of a day as you can. I hope this did help you, and I hope you understand. I mean, I'm going to do more designs, more showing of how to design. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about design and what it really entails as I go along. And I may reiterate on things that I've said in this video as possible. I didn't write any of this stuff down. I just turn around and don't like writing down the stuff that I'm gonna say, because when you go to start talking, it's the same principle. You know, as you go along, you realize maybe something sounds better if you say it another way. You can't plan everything. I mean, no matter how much of a perfectionist you might be, you can't plan everything. You can try, but that's just not how it works. And that's a hard experience to learn. So, either way, I hope y'all have a good day. And I will talk to you again later. See ya.